Shri Ganesha Sharada Gurubhyo Namaha Agajanana Padmarkam Gajananam Aharnisham Anekadam Tam Bhaktanam Ekadantam Upasmahi. Welcome to all for this 11th chapter in the Ganesha Purana. So, in the previous chapter, as you may be knowing, that Vyasa, in the beginning, when he was trying to create those Ashtadasha Purana, 18 Puranas, because first he divided the Vedas, the source of all the knowledge, he divided them into four forms, four different sectors like Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Atharvana Veda. And after dividing the Vedas into these four parts, so that it will be easier for the scholars to understand. For the scholars, it's difficult to understand the Vedas, and that is why Veda Vyasa had divided them. But then, common man can never be able to understand the essence of the Vedas. So, for that purpose, Veda Vyasa was trying to create the 18 Puranas, 18 main Puranas, and then the sub Puranas. But then, in the beginning itself, he was so proud that he could able to divide the Vedas so that the scholars will be able to understand. But that pride itself became a problem for him, and because of that self pride, he got into the ocean of confusion. Could not able to even come up with why exactly and how exactly he is supposed to create those Puranas. So when writing the Purana itself becomes so difficult for him, and seeing that the ocean of confusion, and he has lost all the knowledge, so straight away he came to Satyaloka, where he met Chaturbaka Brahma, one who is having the four faces, Brahma, who is the creator of this universe. So he asked him why exactly these things have happened. So, on hearing from Vedavyasa, Chaturmukha Brahma explains to him, did you remember Ganesha in the beginning? Because remember, the self pride is the reason because of which anything that you start with the self, too much of pride in you and selfishness in you. So, because of that reason, any work that you start will get spoiled. And Ganesha himself will make sure that you will get spoiled, and you will get into the myriad of so much of confusion. And because of that reason, first, before starting any work, one need to worship Ganesha. Now, what is worship Ganesha? You look at the form of Ganesha. Like Ganesha, you need to have a sharp focus on your project, an active listening ears, a big head to think about the project, a big stomach to digest whatever people talk about, a flexible trunk to be flexible while starting with any project. That's what exactly Brahma calls it as worshipping Ganesha in the beginning. Of course, in Hindu philosophy, there is a definite way in which people do the worship of any god or goddesses, but still, the essence of that worship is basically this. So let's continue. And Brigu, who was narrating this particular story, he continues saying that wishing to answer the questions put in this manner, a four faced Brahma spoke again. After considering the multiplicity of Ganesha mantras, because there are so many mantras, how to do the worship? Generally, the worship is being done with the help of a mantra, which means mantra here means a set of syllable which you have to keep on repeating in your mind. Mana trata, that which you repeat in your mind is called as mantra. So there are so many Ganesha mantras. I am going to describe everything sequentially. O sage, Brahma explains. Since the mantras of great Ganesha are endless, there are so many mantras. I will tell you about the worship of him who brings a quick success. In Ganesha's sacred text, there are seven myriads of great mantras. O sage, I know something and some of their secret. So too does Shiva. Both Shiva and me know about the secret of those mantras. A six syllable and a one syllable mantra. Here, for your reference, I'm going to explain, I'm going to mention about that six syllable mantra was Vakratundaya Hum. And then one syllable mantra was basically Gum. But again, don't be practicing any either of them, because this must be generally taught by a master who had mastered both these mantras. Because only then this mantra and how it has to be expressed, and whether there is any mistake in your expression of these mantras, these things are very much necessary for the success of mantra recitation. So because of that reason, please get it from a master who will also tell you the way in which it need to be pronounced and what all the other things that you need to do along with reciting these mantras. Anyway, we'll come back to our story. A six syllable and a one syllable mantra are the best of them, and by the mere recollection of those two, every success comes into one's hand. O sage, by worshipping him, those fortunate people who are liberated while alive are honored and worshipped even by the gods. By way of devotion to him, that means devotion to Ganesha, the perfected men engage in servitude to them, and heartily manifesting devotion to Ganesha, they move at will, are omniscient, and can assume any form at will. But the life of those who do not even have a snippet of devotion, they are basically worthless. One should not look at the faces of those who are adverse to Gajanana. That means those who do not respect Gajanana. You should not even look at their faces, for there will be obstacles at every step merely due to the sight of, but merely because of seeing them. Seeing one of his worshippers causes all obstacles to disappear. Means if somebody is worshipping Gajanana, Ganesha, then just by seeing them, all our obstacles will disappear, and beings both moving and unmoving make, I mean, in the world there are living beings which move, and then non-living, the so-called non-living beings which do not move, all of them make an obeisance to them. Accordingly, I will tell you about that auspicious mantra consisting of one syllable, and just by performing it, you will certainly obtain what you desire. I'll describe its performance just as Shambhu described the same thing to me. After the pure man, a very wise adept has had a bath and clothed himself in a clean garment. That's very much necessary. Before you start reciting the mantra, one need to be pure at the heart and should be wise with wise advisors. The person should have a bath for external cleansing and should be clothed with a very clean garment, and has made a seat for himself out of kusha grass. Kusha grass is considered as the most auspicious one. Even scientifically, too, it's having several special qualities. Because of that reason, it could avoid any negative energy from affecting an individual. Out of kusha grass or cloth or a black antelope skin. Yeah, these days, getting an antelope skin is very difficult because it's an endangered species. And having placed himself on it and effected purification of the elements and the checking of the breaths. First, one need to do the pranayama to check whether your both the nostrils are equally open and the breath is perfect in both the nostrils. This is called as anuloma viloma pranayama. Means we take the breath from the left nostril and leave it from the right nostril, and then take the breath from right nostril and leave it on the left nostril. Check whether we are having any proper breathing aspect. In fact, the proper breathing aspect in both these nostrils, it's assumed, it's been experienced also, that your mind will be in a most balanced state. Whether the mind is in a balanced state, that we can identify it by checking our breath. And that's the reason why here Brahma is explaining it to Vyasa that first you need to check the breath. He should attentively observe the rite of depositing the syllables internally and externally. That means externally one need to pronounce. In the beginning, we pronounce it so that it can be even heard by the others, and slowly the mantra will remain to only the lip movement, and slowly from open explanation, open expression, slowly it becomes something that is ringing in the mind, and this need to be properly practiced under the guidance of a good master. I mean, practice of a master who had already mastered this particular mantra. Then he should restrain his breath in the heart while reciting a root mantra. After that, the twilight verse should be recited as prescribed in the Agama. Having meditated on the God from head to foot with mind motionless, that means neither the body should be moving nor the mind should be moving. He should then, when well composed, worship him with ritual practices in the mind. Then, performing the rite of repetition of mantras, he should recite as much as he is capable of. Gajanana will be well disposed to give gifts, which will manifest himself in his real form for as long as a person is absorbed in recitation. When you are reciting the mantras, you need to be so totally absorbed in the mantras that one will going to forget their body, that they are really existing in that body itself they will going to forget about it. Deha shunya bhava. So they feel themselves that they become bodiless. Yeah, that is the amount of involvement that is required. But of course, you can't imagine those kind of a things. That should be happening on its own. So for that purpose, one should be pure in the mind. So there are a lot of practices, which yoga practices, with which we try to remove the impurity from the mind first. So these are all generally uh, practiced. They need to be practiced under a guru. So after practicing for that purification of the mind, then it is a purification of the body. And then in the mind, we imagine the arrival of Gajanana. Of course, we cannot imagine someone who is formless. So because of that reason, we imagine the God in some form. And that is why we imagine Gajanana in the form of an elephant headed God. So we imagine him, we invite him into our mind, we pay all the respect to him. There is a definite way in which a guest is to be taken care of in the Indian culture. When a guest arrives at the home, we first offer him a seat and then wash his feet because he has come from outside. So, as part of the cleanliness, we first wash his feet and we give him water to drink because India is a tropical country. So, it is a practice for every guest. We offer him we wash his feet and we clean it with the cloth. We offer him something to drink, that's usually a pure water to drink, and then we offer him whether he would like to have a bath, and then the procedure continues. It is called as Shodashopachara Puja. You can learn more about it from a learned guru. So we need to either explicitly do this to Gajanana by putting a statue of Gajanana in front of you, or you can also do it imagining all these things in your mind. So, with that, we make an assumption that the Gajanana is residing within us, and then we keep on reciting that mantra. Most essentially, initially, it may be for the practice of purpose, it may be done explicitly, openly expressing it through the mouth, and then slowly reduce it to only lip movement, and then finally, it should be continuously repeating in the mind. So that's usually the practice. But of course, it can be practiced better under a guru. Brigu continue the story. Having said this to the sage and considering the day to be auspicious, Brahma taught everything about Ganapa's, that means Gajanana's great mantra with its single syllable and a single vowel to that confused sage named Vyasa. Brahma said, when you see that God who resembles 1,000 suns come to give a gift, then make your heart firm, thinking, Gajanana, be ever firm in my heart. You should ask for a boon which he will undoubtedly give you. And then, when your heart becomes fixed on the God, you will gain divine knowledge. You will also know the past, present, future in its entirety. O child, having got rid of your deep confusion, you will be able to compose many texts. It means one, as they keep on reciting it for several hundred thousand millions billions of times for over a long period of time, and once the person's mind is fixed in Gajanana, it's because of the concentration of the mind one will going to see Ganesha in the form of 1,000 sun, in the form of a light which is equivalent to 1,000 sun. When he see the light, it's an indication that the mind is now open, and the God Ganesha has arrived there. The supreme deity has arrived there. In fact, one need to, through the mind itself, one need to request Ganesha that his will. In fact, Ganesha would be knowing about for what purpose you exactly are doing this kind of a penance. Why exactly you are doing this mantra japa? So, because of that reason, generally what one should be having in the heart is, as it's said in Bible, thy will be done. As we say, God, your will be done, or what they say in Islam called as Insha Allah. So, in the same fashion, we just request the God that His will should go right. Whatever is the will of the God, that should be run. God knows about what exactly the purpose for which we have started. Even otherwise, at that moment when the brilliance of millions of sun appears in our mind, we can request for the boon that I'm planning for this, or I'm starting with education, I'm starting with some particular study, I need your blessings for the same thing, and the God will go into offer us that he will go into provide us that particular strength to help us in case of learning and other aspects. Vyasa asked the question to Brahma, oh father, your instruction has caused my confusion to vanish. Your very instruction, you have given instruction in such a beautiful way that at this moment all my confusion got vanished. With your assent, O grandfather, I will undertake this performance. Then Brahma said, mighty sage, recollecting Gajanana, undertake this performance in a lonely place where there are no people, so that there is no cause for any destruction. When an atheist, an abuser, a pitiless person, one lacking in good conduct, a mischief maker, a rogue, or such like come for refuge, the great mantra must not be spoken. That means one should not try to share this mantra because you got this mantra, and this mantra might take some time for you to get the realization. But under any circumstance, you should not be sharing this with an atheist or an abuser or a pitiless person or one who is not having a good conduct. But why? Basically, Brahma is giving this caution because whenever you share it with someone who is not having any respect, let's say, for example, you may be belonging to any particular faith or you may belong to any religion or anything, but for some reason you took this mantra is having just a single syllable and you go on repeating it. And even you yourself are not sure what will going to be the final effect of it. Your guru would have told you that if you follow these kind of a procedure, I'm able to get the realization. So you will also be able to get the realization. So you are on the path of getting the realization. But at that moment of a time, if you share this with somebody else who is not having any respect in that mantra or any respect in that ritual, what will happen is unnecessarily you will end up in a lot of quarreling or fighting with him, and you are trying to prove that what you are telling is right thing, which basically makes no sense. Because remember, basically the path of moksha, the spiritual practice, is something need to be done as an individual. Only the guru, the master, only for one who came to the master requesting him to give him a path to the liberation, give him a path to realization. Only for such people, the master decides whether this person is a right person and then only share it. But after getting this details of the ritual or the mantra or the way in which it is supposed to be practiced, if we entering into a debate with somebody who is nowhere having any respect towards that, it is only we who get disturbed, and finally we will not be able to perform what we were trying to perform it blindly just because my guru has told this to me. It's all in our reverence, our respect towards our Guru. With that, we started following. And it is in that respect, the root of the success of realization is existing. So it is because of that reason, under any circumstance, we generally don't share it with somebody who is not having any respect in that, or whether they're having respect or not. Simply better not to share it with anybody, because if they start creating doubt, the debate with them would start creating so much of doubt in our mind, and let's not give any room for such kind of a doubt with which we will not be able to practice it properly. But you must impart it to one whose devotion is solid, to one who has faith, to one who comports himself well, to one who is desirous of it, to one who is not hard hearted, to one who knows the Shastras. And generally, this kind of a sharing need to be done only after you got a realization. Because if you got a realization, then you are pretty sure what is the path that is supposed to be followed. And if you go in that particular path, you know the destination to where you will going to reach. It is only after that, after you reach the destination, it is better you become now a master, so that you can share it with somebody else. And without we ourselves realizing, we ourselves have not reached the destination. If you just simply try to explain, or if you just simply try to share it and try to spread it, we may be doing it with a missionary zeal. But if somebody debates, questions with you, did you got any realization? We will end up in a confusion whether its path is right or wrong. That is why only those who reach the destination should share it with somebody else. If imparted where it should not be imparted, it causes the great mantra reciter, his 10 ancestors and his 10 descendants to go to hell. This is just to give a caution, to make sure that people don't simply go on sharing it with everybody and landing up in the problem. That should not be happening. And that is the reason why this information is being given. But whoever applies it with devotion obtains the result he desires, as well as sons, grandsons, money, wealth. I mean, that means what we desire, we will going to get everything. And having obtained unblemished knowledge through the power of single tusked Ganesha, he will obtain liberation after he has first experienced all worldly enjoyments on the earth. Thus ends the 11th chapter of Upasana Khanda of the glorious Ganesha Purana, in which we have learnt about the Ekakshara, single syllable Ganesha mantra. So, as mentioned here, Brahma himself had explained it to Vyasa that how he can come out of the confusion by first worshipping Ganesha using this single syllable mantra after doing the proper rituals, and then when once he get this mantra to realize himself, to see Ganesha in the form of brilliant sun equivalent to millions of suns, So then he can ask for the boon, and with that boon he could able to see past, present, and future, and he will get the knowledge of all the shastras, so that he will be able to write the 18 Puranas. And as individuals, it helps us to realize and involve in gaining of any of the knowledge. Namaste Sharada Devi Kashmira Puravasini Swamaham Prarthaye Nityam Vidya Danancha Dehime. Goodbye.